Hey there, Chad here. Thanks for joining me. Let's pick up with Let's Play FarmSim25 on Zielonka, right where we left off. You can buy a flatbed and a tractor trailer to haul your equipment around, and I don't think that's the worst idea on larger maps. On the maps that come with the game, I don't know, for me it just doesn't feel like it's big enough to warrant that. You can drive corner to corner on the map in about a minute and a half, and it just feels like there's a lot more effort getting everything loaded on the truck than payoff for the result. Now, with that said, this is a little unrealistic. I get that. On the other hand, they got to get there somehow. Good thing I don't have a wider header, though, huh? I was hoping I would get to harvest one of these really long and large fields here early, maybe next month. So the next day I might get that opportunity and collect some cash. I guess I can start that discussion of what I'm kind of looking at with regards to that grain. If you notice there, that contract is at 80%. And there's a chance that it hit 80% well before the combine finished harvesting the field. And from what I can tell, once you hit 80%, anything beyond that, the game effectively gives to you in the harvest. So what does that mean? Well, when we drop off that crop, when we tip it into the grain elevator there, at some point the contract will complete, but we will still have grain, and the grain that continues to go from there is ours. It goes directly into our bank account as harvest. Well, canola is not at a record high price right now. So instead of just allowing it to fully empty the canola, what I want to do is empty the canola to the point that the contract is filled, and then the rest of it's mine. I want to hang on to it until there's a time where it makes sense to use it in the future. Canola will sell better in December. So it's August right now. It's going to sell for grain elevator, it would be selling for $990 per 1,000. $1 a liter, that's not too bad. But I can get $1.30 a liter in a few months. So, I probably want to hold off if I can. And it seems like a little thing, but if you do 5 fields of canola before December, all of a sudden, instead of having, 1,200 liters left over, you've suddenly got like 7,000 liters. That's a couple of dollars. And so that's kind of that's a tip, I guess. What I would do is I hold on to the grain, and I don't just allow it to sell all of it when it's fulfilling a contract. You let it fill what it needs to, and then keep the rest. You can put it wherever you want. So you are able to harvest a field as part of a contract and put that grain in your own elevator or silo, and then load from your silo to complete the rest of the contract. And that's something to consider as well. So a corollary to that, since this ends at 80%, if you were to start by grabbing grain that you had already harvested elsewhere and going to 20%, then you harvest the field and it finishes the other 80%. As soon as it hits 100% and the contract is done, it cancels your access to that field. So you would actually get to see how much you left on the table at that point, basically, because you can't continue to harvest the field once the contract hits 100% and is complete. So that's just something to consider. Always harvest every last drop of grain or whatever before going to the drop point, because you could be cheating yourself out of a little bit of benefit there. Okay, here we are. I'm just going to see if it'll go. I don't think it will. Hey, it's going to go. Look at that. He's even opening the... I forgot about that. He will open it up, and you can start with a turned off engine, I think, and he'd get going. But all right, just going to let him do his thing. We're going to come back to this guy. So we have 10,000 liters here. I'm guessing it's going to take a little over 8. We'll probably end up with about 1,500 liters of leftover that we get to keep. And if it's less than 1,000 liters, I probably will just go ahead and sell it. Like I said, it does add up over time. But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe I guess for the purpose of argument, I won't do that this time. But here we go. So I basically just watch it, 83, 4, 5, 6, and when it gets to 99, I'll kill it. Because the contract tends to fill when it hits 99, not 100. Okay, didn't quite get there. There it is right there. It's complete. So we still have 1,588 liters in the wagon that we get to keep. So I'm going to take that home. Now, if this were wheat or sorghum or oat or barley, I could make flour out of it. Can't do that with canola. Canola makes oil. So I'm just going to put it in the grain elevator or the silo. I'm not sure that those are the same thing. Actually, I should be careful. I'm going to put it in my silo and hang on to it to December, and then I'll sell it in December and make a little bit extra money. It's only a couple $100, but every little bit helps. Dump the rest of it. I do have it set to grain door right now. I was hoping that would slow down the flow so I could catch it more quickly. I don't know if it helped or not. That's how much fertilizer I still had in the spreader. Each of those is about 1,000. One of them won't be full, but I barely used any fertilizer for all the fertilizing I did today. I probably did 5 missions. At one point I had 3 at once. They were all next to each other, and I just went ahead and grabbed them. And that was kind of neat. There will come a point where I'll have enough fields that I won't be interested in doing contracts for other folks, but for now, until I have that kind of money, I'm going to be doing them. All right, so you missed a little spot there. That's going to happen now and again. But we can look at the map and go to there and see what it thinks. We basically don't want to see white. And we don't. There's a drop there. Now here's the part we added, and you'll notice it got it. It did take care of it. It missed that little strip there, and it missed a few places in here. I'm not going to worry about those. Maybe this big corner, I might go hit that. That probably is important. But other than that, as I pass over them, I'll hit them. But otherwise, I'm not that concerned with it. Oh, and it started raining. Blip right here that got missed. Just hit B real quick. Got it. Can't remember if these were. Yeah, that right there is a miss. Bloop. Bloop. Lime is actually fairly inexpensive. Yeah, I took a roundabout way to get there so that I could go ahead and hit these spots. I probably gained myself like 7 liters in spreading all that. It's not a big deal, I don't guess. But and then finally that guy there. Okay, that'll do there. Well, while I'm driving, I might as well hit that last one. So the rain, one thing to know is if you're harvesting during the rain, your harvest is lowered. In other words, it doesn't produce as much if you're doing it while it's raining. So that's just something to consider as you play the game. If you're facing a rainstorm, you probably do want to pay attention to that forecast there and plan accordingly. That is one of the tips that shows up while you're waiting for the game to load. It'll talk about that. There's a lot of really good tips there, and that's one of them. I'd kind of forgotten that. I think in some iterations of the game you couldn't harvest at all. I don't remember exactly what the overall rules were. I think I'm just going to drop the lime. I'm going to unload it up here. I'm not planning on using this field for the time being. Eventually I'll probably do some mowing, but not right now. So I'm just going to hit I, and that'll unload those there. We're going to go back down and pick up all that fertilizer. It didn't produce as many lime boxes there because they hold 2,000 liters each, whereas fertilizer is just 1,000. And unfortunately, you have to do them all one by one. and they take a few seconds. And it will only do them while they're in range, and I can tell they're in range with this guy because his lid pops open. I pull in between them. I should be able to kind of get most of them here now. Just hold still and turn off the engine. Really, I'm just grabbing them to save space. I could have just left them there. I could get the pallet fork and stack them or something like that, but leaving them in here, it's not a big hassle to start and stop, so to speak, with that. So we'll just go with that for now. Oh, that is a really good point. So I probably should stop. I didn't think about that, but it's going to be raining for a while, though. I do need to finish the contract one way or another. I probably could end up short here if I'm not careful. This might be a situation where I end up with exactly the right amount because it accounts for that in the math that it does with how much it's going to produce and the percentage. That could be interesting to learn. Let's go ahead and see if that's the case. Yeah. Very, very good point, though. I did not think about that at all. So this is going to be a while yet. I'm going to grab this guy, get the wagon, the trailer, pardon me. About the time I'm getting there, we'll probably want to empty it. With the reduced yield, though, wow, you could end up in a little bit of trouble because you can't complete the contract. There's a missing crop penalty, I think, when that happens. I don't really know what the parameters around that are, though. I haven't really looked into it because I've been able to avoid it in the past. I'm curious if any of you are watching this and you are in Europe, the dotted line on the right side, I am curious what that means. In the United States, the dotted line in the middle probably means what it does there, except ours would be yellow to indicate that it's two-way traffic. The dotted line on one side, I have to imagine it either has to do with parking, but that doesn't really make sense, or passing. I'm kind of thinking it might have to do with passing, but I honestly don't know. I don't think it would be a bike lane, right? So I'm curious what that is. If somebody knows and could post a comment on that, I'd really appreciate it. We did not do a lot of car travel while I was in Europe. We traveled by train and subway quite a bit. I think we did take an Uber once or twice, but it was dark, so I didn't really get a good look at what streets really looked like for traversing. So not something I was able to learn about. There's a part of me that says, of course it has nothing to do with passing because it's only on one side ever. And you would think if it had to do with passing, there'd be spots where it would be on both sides. So I am really curious what that is. Love for somebody to educate me on that. Thanks in advance if you do. Wow, you just drove right over that. He did not care. I better get out of his way. All right, there he was blocked, but he will wait a few seconds and try again. And I learned earlier today that even when he's blocked, he will sometimes go ahead and say, you know what, try something completely different. And that was good to see. I was a little surprised by that. And it is not, yeah, it's not high enough. That sucks. All right, well, we'll just let him, he'll finish up here and be full. Looks like he's almost there. If he wasn't rolling, I think it would go ahead and dump it, but since we were both rolling, it probably couldn't trigger. Kind of did this field in an interesting manner, didn't it? Okay, and since the tool I have has no use on a field, it won't even allow me over here. I'm trying to click that, it won't happen. and there's nothing to set up over here, so interesting. This feels like regular old rain, right? I don't know if there's different symbols for heavy rain. It talked about there would be times of heavy rain. There's really no reason that I'm following him. I was just thinking he really had to be extremely close there. It'll tell me when his tank is full, though. It looks like he will have a little bit of excess. So we're at 78%. Let's watch this for a moment. Or not. 79%. He's going to have very little excess at all, is my guess. That's probably thanks to the rain. It's 80, so he just hit 80. So everything that's left there, my sense is that's going to belong to me. I'm going to get to hold on to that and sell it or whatever I choose to do with it. This was wheat, so I'll probably dump it in my factory. Although the factory has enough to run for many months right now, so that might not be the smartest move. But you'll notice it will not move above 80% now. And he's done. He's finished his task. So I'm going to circle around, pull up alongside him, and see if it'll go ahead and unload. It should, really, at that point. Be a little surprised if it doesn't, since it's not moving anymore. But I'll probably have to get out and do it, because the worker went home. He's done with his job. And since it looks like it's going to continue to rain, I don't think I'm going to be able to harvest any more fields today. So I'm going to return the harvester at this point. Now we could look and see if there's any contracts out there. Yeah, see the contracts are getting nicer and nicer, but meaning a little more and more money. Fertilizing for 3,600. We have done a ton of contract work today. I think I'm pleased with where I'm sitting with that. I think tomorrow will be another day with a lot of contracts, and I'll probably just do a lot of those on my own. As mentioned, I'll probably just do some stuff, and if something interesting comes up, I'll make note of it and record it. But otherwise, probably let a little bit of time go by before we jump back in, maybe when I'm ready to start buying fields or building some other buildings and stuff like that, buying significant hardware. Let's go ahead and turn in the wheat and see if we get any kind of bonus there, though. I am really curious about that. So let's see. Okay, so that was the hoeing, and that one's done. So we're going to collect on that. This one is not done yet, and it is going to farmer's market. Okay, easy enough. So I want to set, didn't have to leave. I'm going to set this trailer, set destination, and I'm setting destination. I could just tell it to do a delivery and set a job, and it would actually go, and theoretically it should actually do the delivery and put it right in there for me. But like I said, I want to try to hold on to the extra. So let's see if that works and if we actually get any extra this time. Just going to go ahead and let him do his driving. Looks like he's going to go. We're going to go a different path, and we're much slower than him. So I'm just going to drive this guy back to the store. You know, there is a small piece of me that thinks maybe I go ahead and hold on to this for another day I'll have to pay another day's fees, but I bet some of those larger fields need harvesting tomorrow. Now the question is, do they have something that uses a grain harvester? That'll be important, because if it's all corn or green beans, that's not going to make a difference. Here's another one of those tanks, by the way, where you can get fertilizer and lime. With as lucrative as the contracts were today, though, thinking back on if I want to do that or not, I think maybe I will. Maybe I'll just go ahead and hang on to this for one more day. I can't recall if there's a way to tell what the breakdown is. I guess I could go and try to rent another one. But it came to about $7,000 total. Some of that was the hourly. It expects a minimum of 1 hour, and we've gone over that, so we're paying more on this one than we were otherwise. There's the daily, and then there's also just an upfront fee. And we won't have to repay the fee if I hang on to it another day. We will pay another day charge. We'll continue to pay by the hour, but we won't have to pay that upfront fee. So that's what I would be saving, in the hopes that there's some really good harvesting work to do tomorrow. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to do that. That is the plan I'm going to follow. So scrap the idea of returning this guy to the store. He's going back to our farm. I have to say the rain sound is not bad. I'm hearing a lot of engine when I go in a little closer, but I'm just kind of listening to it. And honestly, it sounds like what it would sound like on my deck. I have a forest, a wooded area, not forested, a wooded area behind my house, and I think it would very much sound like this. Thunder's not too bad either. It's randomish. It sounds like they've got a few different sound models for that. Oh, well, there's no sun to check it right now to tell. I noticed something that might be a bug. Or it could be because the mod doesn't account for it. In the previous video, the shadow from the tree that had been here was still showing up. And it made me think a couple of things. First of all, that indicates that the model thinks that there's something intercepting the light on the way to the ground, so it clearly, there's something there. I was hoping maybe a game save would clear it out, and maybe next time there's sunny, I'll be able to tell if it got rid of it or not. If that's not the case, that might mean that all that the lumberjack does is make something invisible and non-collidable. And the light model doesn't necessarily know that, so it's going to continue to cast a shadow. And my other thought was, that could be part of the reason that I couldn't get this to all lay flat as I got a little closer to the road. I assumed that I don't technically own this land over here, which is entirely possible. It probably is easement from the road. That would make sense. But I thought I should be able to go a little further than like right there. I would have thought, you know, I'd own out to here or so. So that is kind of interesting to me. I mean, this is all mine, right? So why wouldn't it come out this far-ish to here? That would make sense, right? And it's not. It was ending here when I was trying to do some of the terraforming. So I'm curious on that. I'm looking forward to seeing the sun again, and we'll find out if there's anything to consider there. Let's see. So one last thing to do, and then we're going to end this video, and that is deliver this grain. Yeah, we didn't even get a full load there, did we? I'm hoping this is enough. Although it did get to 80%, so it should be enough. And like before, I'm going to try to kill it just as it expires, but there might not, we didn't get there. Yeah, that's not good. I'm going to end up paying a penalty, it looks like. And I'm not quite sure how you end the contract at this point now. So I do have some, I got 95% of it, so 15% was, we'll call it 8,000. I would need another 4,000. I do not have 4,000 Oh, this was wheat, wasn't it? I do have 4,000 wheat. I can't get to it because it's in my factory. I don't think there's a way to remove it once it's in there. So we're going to try to learn how a penalty like that works. I don't know that you can complete the contract. We'll take a peek here in just a second. Okay, come out here to contracts, active. There's this guy. You need to deliver this to the selling station. Well, I did, and there wasn't enough of it. So I don't know what to do. I know if you look at some of these, harvesting, now there's more and more of these showing up. Looking forward to trying to go after some of those. I think there is I'm not seeing it now. I thought there was somewhere that it listed a penalty. So I know the logging does, right? The wood transport penalty per tree that you don't complete. I get that. That's not the same thing though. I thought there was something that was like for an unfulfilled contract. It had a list of, that's rocks again. Okay, well I'm not seeing it. So I'll probably just get penalized the cost of the, I don't know, the crop that's missing. I don't know. Let's find out. I don't know that I can do anything other than two options, right? I can just let the contract expire, which will be in 8 hours and 15 minutes, I believe, or I can try canceling it. I'm going to go ahead and try canceling it. Next time it happens, we'll let it expire and see if it behaves differently. Are you sure you want to cancel this contract and lose all payment? I don't love that idea. On the other hand, I'm just out the effort. A little bit of time on the combine. The time I put into the combine, that'll go away too. So we're going to say yes. It was canceled, and I lost 1,500 missing crops. Okay, there it is. So interesting. So it was wheat. Wheat's going to sell for 700 to 800 each. So it was like it thought 2,000 liters were missing. Well, we could play with the math all night. I'm not sure it's going to give me an answer that I want to have right now. So I'm curious about that, but we will leave that for next time that this happens. We'll try the other route, just see if we can make up the difference somehow. That's going to do it for this particular episode of Let's Play FarmSim25 with Mo Chad. Thanks for joining me. Really do appreciate your time, and until next time, fair travels.